Dr. Vaishali Shah is a postgraduate in international business and a diploma holder in internet technologies. She is the founder, owner of www.hinduscriptures.com and Sri Vedant Foundation, catering to seekers worldwide. She is also an author of the book series called Hindu Culture Lifestyle, which is written in three parts. The books are extremely helpful to those who want to know and follow Hindu culture living in any part of the world, be it young or adults alike. Her foundation is based in Kenya, India, and the UK, which conducts the classes of Hindu culture in various countries based on her book series. Her website has more than 45,000 pages covering topics like culture, history, heritage, rituals, temples, festivals, etc. She has received many appreciation letters from Sri Narendra Modi ji, Srimati Anandi Ben Patel ji, and also a few spiritual gurus. She has received awards like Hind Ratan Award, Navratna Award, Pravasi Bharatiya Award, Women's Achievers Award in India and UK. Her belief in vegetarianism initiated projects like tree planting, seed donation, seminars to create awareness for the same in Kenya. She also wrote a book called The Veg Safari to educate locals on why they should turn vegetarian. She strongly supports women farmers in Kenya by donating seeds and plants so that they sustain their lives on their own. So far, she has planted 75,000 single handedly in many villages in Kenya. She has served in many Indian communities in Kenya to bring awareness about Hindu culture. Currently, she has a column in Janmabhoomi newspaper, which is released in Mumbai. She video blogs on the FB page www.hinduscriptures.com, where she interviews scholars from different parts of the world who have dedicated their lives to Indian culture. Her website and projects are covered by many television channels, radio channels, newspapers across the world. And finally, she is a video blogger, avid reader, philanthropist, geek, foodie, yoga instructor, traveler, and a self started. Welcome, Dr. Vaishali ma'am, to our show, The Eternal Quest.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon to both of you. I hope you have a wonderful time there in Rajkot because I think it's winter time and Gujarat is really something,
Yes.
where you can get plenty of variety of food and it's something, this is the best time to be in Gujarat. So I'm sure you must be enjoying your weather.
Yes, yes, true. Winters are it is a pleasure to be in winter here. Yeah.
True.
So to begin with, ma'am, uh, tell us about your inspiration and motivation behind such an exceptional success.
I think a lot of people have told me that, it is because maybe because of my past karma. But if you ask me about this life, we don't believe, this is our belief, and there are scientific proofs also that whatever knowledge or whatever devotion you develop as a soul, it transmigrates from one life to another life. So you might not have the memory, but you do born with those imprints of what you have studied, whether especially when it comes to scriptures, our Vedic scriptures, and also whatever devotional activities we have done. We call it bhakti. So that one point a lot of people have told me. But apart from that, in this life, I think Dwarka was my inspiration because when I used to go to Dwarka with my grandparents, in one of the trips which I where somehow I knew that I have the knowledge of technology. I have the knowledge of, I was by then, already into management school. And I thought that I've read so much, so I have to put all these things into sort of a, knowledge bank. And being coming from IT, for me, website was a natural thought that, okay, let me collect the articles, let me read, let me write myself. But then I never knew that I was the only one who was working on this that time, 16, 17 years, at least in that domain, in internet. I'm sure there are many scholars who have done wonderful work, and but then their work was not getting displayed. So that's what I did. I invited them to write. I collected from various ashrams, from gurus, from institutes. So many people helped me out. And I think 16, 17 years back, it wasn't that difficult. Today, if somebody goes out to do it, it is a bit challenging because I think the time has changed for whatever reasons. But then I found tremendous support from every ashram, every guru, whoever I went to collect data. And that time, this whole the whole idea of being a Vedic scholar wasn't there. That time only gurus, all those who have got ashrams and who are kathakar, like we have Bhupendra Bhai or Murari Bapuji, or in Bhai Shri. So those kind of people were there, and they are still there. And those kind of people actually helped me. That's how I collected 45,000, like all over the period of time. 45,000 pages now I've got, and I'm still adding more and more content to the site. But then for me, it was a wonderful journey. I mean, I enjoyed my time in the ashrams. I might have not done anything at home, but I used to cook, I used to clean. Everything I've done in staying in the ashrams. I've in Banaras, in Haridwar, in Rishikesh, in Gujarat, in Dwarka, especially Dwarka. So many people, so many places. I think it's been a wonderful journey. But yes, the main inspiration has come from Dwarkadesh. That I must admit.
Okay, ma'am. So spirituality is Dr. Vaishali Shah's inspiration, true, ma'am. So spirituality is like finding ourselves deep within, and that is a cause for inspiration behind success.
It is. It is.
Yes, indeed. Ma'am, can you share your experience as the founder of www.hinduscriptures.com and also the founder of Sri Vedant Foundation? Both these are catering to the Hindu Vedic life.
As I told you, when I started off, I had so many questions. So I wrote down around 800 questions, and then I realized that I don't have answers, and not many people have got answers for those questions. And then I started asking people, and I got the answers. The whole idea and the whole journey is about my own quest, because I was hungry, I was thirsty. I wanted to know everything, as in anything and everything. Being a management graduate wasn't enough, though I had read many bestsellers, by then, by say 2021. I'd read many of the bestsellers, and I was still not happy. I used to like Art of War, on the strategy, then Blue Ocean Theories, and many such, Peter Drucker. All those I've grown up reading them. I've grown up reading many other, what do you call it, James Hadley Chase, and so many other authors were there. So those fiction books. So I've read all those fiction books. In Indian literature, it was many Gujarati literature I had read, Kanhaiya Lal Munshi. Then Hindi mein Premchand ki, all the kavita and all those. I knew Ravindranath Tagore's literary work, Bengali. Then in Maharashtra, I think somebody had given me some books on little Abhyangs, and that one of the Gyaneshwarji, yes. There he had written something in that area. So that way, I knew a lot about Indian literature as well. But then it was not enough, because first you have textbooks, then you have all the fiction books, then you have literature. But if you go beyond that, then okay, then management books, then you have uh, like engineering and other, that is technical knowledge, which we don't need to get into. Medical, technical, that is different. But above that, then there is only scriptures. So if you're looking for answers, then it is only and only Vedic scriptures can give you the answers and nothing else. And being a bookworm, I mean, there is hardly anything. Even today, if there is some bestseller is there, for example, there is one Japanese author who has written Ikigai. So it's about spirituality from a Japanese point of view. So I read that. It doesn't mean that I've stopped reading, because though our scriptures have given all the answers, but if you want to find questions, then questions are everywhere else, because they have got the questions but they don't have the answers. That I must tell you. So I think that journey was wonderful, and that's how when I got married and I came to Kenya, I continued my work. Before that, when I was in the US, I was into the same, almost the same area. And in India, of course, I started in India in Mumbai. So 25 years back, when I was in Mumbai, I of course was quite focused and quite keen, to meet people and understand. So that way it was, I don't think it was a problem for me to, and I was very sure that I want to get into this full time. So I used my management skills, my IT skills, my contacts, my whatever I had, my funds, my own investments, everything is done on my own. I've never done any fundraising, to put up this whole thing. So I was fortunate. God was kind, and I think He gave me the strength. I utilized in the right way. I could have used the same money in partying and shopping, but then I thought of using that money into, gaining the knowledge, because that thirst was more acute than my thirst for anything else. I mean, for rest of the things, I was quite okay.
So wonderful, ma'am. So it is very astonishing that you had 800 questions to like begin with. And moving forward, like as an author, how is Dr. Vaishali Shah different?
Yeah, as when it comes to my field, when I'm sitting here and talking to my audience about this subject, I'm very different, upfront, focused. But when I'm not doing this, and rest of the things, I'm, as I told you, I'm foodie. I like to cook once in a while. I like to travel a lot. I like to meet people. I love to talk to people. I'm always hungry to meet new people, different kind of, set from different kind of setup, professions, different kind of country. So I'm always eager to learn from others. I'm always open to travel to the places where people generally don't travel. I've seen certain countries where I don't think tour operators are taking you there, from India or even from here in Kenya. So yes, I think those are my main. I think those things keep me occupied, and I love to read. I still read, so that takes away a lot of time from me.
Yeah, such an incredible journey, ma'am. Yeah.
So, ma'am, what do you feel is the role of environment in today's world? And can you enlighten us with your initiatives towards it?
I really feel that earlier our whole lifestyle was about taking care of the environment. I'll give you a simple example. We used to worship trees. Okay, that doesn't mean that we think that tree is a god. It's just that we believe maintaining the trees. So whenever there was a tradition. Okay, when you go out to cut the tree, first you have to worship, you have to ask for forgiveness, and then you cut the tree. Like one tree, if you have to do. Now just imagine what are we doing to create books. We are thousands and thousands of trees we are wasting. We are bringing it down. Then for what do you call it, animal farming. For animal farming, you have to destroy all the jungles and put up the animal farms. Yeah, then to feed those animals, you again, of course, you have other vegetations which you are using for the animals to feed them. And then after that animal, once it is grown, you cut and you eat. So which is very idiotic cycle. I mean, for example, 1 kilo of meat, say whichever meat you call it, red meat, uh, I think that animal consumes around 4 to 500 kilo of green grass and around 3 to 400 tons of water. to maintain that one animal. Huh? Just imagine one animal. So uska cleaning se leke, then from the farm to the slaughterhouse, from slaughterhouse to the wholesaler, from there to the retailer, and then it comes to your plate. So you can imagine how much damage are we doing to the environment by eating meat. And this is what people need to understand, that when you eat meat, we are actually eating the meal of five people who can be sustained for 1 week, just one meal of meat. So you can imagine the amount of damage we are doing, right? And uske baad they release all the different kind of gases which is not good for environment. And then you have cleaning problem, as in, because you cut them, they are fully blooded. It's a horrific sight. Then of course you have to waste so much of water to clean them, to clean the premises. So you are already spoiling the soil, क्योंकि वो blood कहाँ जाता है? Where does it go? Either it goes into the river, you somewhere you waste, or you dump it in the ground. So the soil is also getting spoiled, the water is getting spoiled, and in return, what are you getting? Just one meal. I mean, it's really foolish to eat meat. And that is the reason, till 100 years back, 99% people in India were vegetarian. Now, unfortunately, it is 50 or 60%. And that too, not 100% vegetarian. They must be eating some or other time. So you can imagine that our culture itself was about environment. Uske baad, on top of that, if you see about all our traditions, about the lifestyles, so what we have done is we have created everything out of petrol. All the plastic comes out of petrol. All the other things, apart from cotton, apart from wood, which comes from nature, but rest everything else comes from petrol. So again, we are adding lots of poison to our lives and to environment. One plastic ka I don't have right now anything. One plastic ka bag or a bottle takes 400 years to what do you call it, to decomposed. Yeah, 400 years. Just imagine. So how much damage, and we have dumped all these things into the ocean. Now in the ocean, the size of the dumpings, all this waste, is equivalent to the 4 to 5 countries. Just imagine. So itna we have dumped into the ocean. So we have created, but we don't know how to dispose them. What is the point? So are you getting me? So the whole lifestyle which we have created about plastic things and about destroying natural resources to do something else. For example, even the cotton, like this one particular shirt takes away the water of three people. One shirt takes away the water of three people. We are already close to that point where we are going to, from there, where we are going to face the shortage. The way population is growing, we are going to face the shortage of food and water, not very far, 5 years to 10 years from now. So now, what more? The list is endless. I don't know. I can go on for this, but the bottom line of all these things is the way we have been living recently is damaging the environment. We need to go back to our culture where we believe in reusing the natural resources for our everyday consumption, less use of plastic, no plastic at all in the kitchen if you don't want to die with cancer, because plastic in kitchen is the biggest cause. That is something which you have to think of. And apart from that, be minimalistic. Like if you can manage with 5 things, don't buy 10 things in anything. So that's the thing which you have to now practice actually.
That's true, ma'am. And when you said about the old times when we used to actually pray to the trees and everything, so I remember in my childhood, I was taught like when you pluck leaves of a tulsi plant, for you to even use it in any purpose, for any purpose, you need to say a mantra and say forgiveness and thank you for that.
Right.
So we need to get back to our roots, and the thing that you said about the less usage of plastic, so that's true, ma'am. We can definitely focus on that. So what are the various topics that you focus as a column writer in Janmabhoomi?
There it is very clear. It's about the column's name is Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya. So I write about Krishna and his messages, his lives, the way he lived, his relationships, his leelas. So a lot of everything about Krishna. There nothing. I mean, you will not find anything else. But yes, few examples of strategy, business, management, because you learn those things from Krishna, you learn those things from Bhagavad Gita. So when I write about I write about any of the topics from Bhagavad Gita, of course the modern topics are touched, but again it's only about Krishna.
Okay, that's wonderful, ma'am. So, talking about Krishna and all the stories, everything, can I know what is spirituality according to you?
The modern term of spirituality is actually different than it should be, because for us being spiritual means we have given up all our customs and traditions, and we are only meditating and only doing yoga. That is the modern definition of spirituality, where you have given up your customs, which is actually meaningless, because then there is nothing left. Then there is no difference between you as being Hindu and then anybody else who's not performing those rituals. In today's time, we need to understand that being spiritual means we are following all our traditions, all our rituals, either in the temple or in the house. um, we are close to our deities. We know our Ishta Devtas. We know our Kul Devtas. We know about soul, the journey within and the journey outside. So that is something should be called spiritualism, because if at all I'm just saying that, okay, I don't know anything about my community, my caste, my what do you call it, my devta, my nothing, mujhe kuch nahi aata, but I'm spiritual because I'm meditating once in a blue moon, and I don't go to temples, and I do yogas. That is not the that is that is nothing. I mean, what are you doing then? Right. So first you have to know yourself. You know, as in your physical form and the spiritual form. You know your physical form from the world around, as in the community, place, whatever. You know your gotra se leke. Even you should. If I ask you, do you know your gotra? Tell me, Dviti. No, tell me. Do you know?
Ma'am, you're gonna a difficult situation then.
Yeah, mine is Bhagavatra.
Okay. See, Vijaya Lakshmi ji knows at least. So out of two,
Yes,
50%, 50% is the ratio now. So
that's
one
true,
person
ma'am.
doesn't
Yes.
know, right? So that is the ratio almost everywhere. In any society, anywhere you go, if you ask them, 50% of the people would not know their Gotra. And that is where the challenge starts from, because you have to know yourself. We have to know our ancestors, where we come from, the whole lineage, the whole paramparas, the way things were and things are now, and how do we connect with our history, past, our roots, and from there what we have to carry forward. So this whole process is supposed to be a spiritualism, not just sitting at home and once in a while you close your eyes and fancy something. No, that is not in my book.
Okay. So, can you comment on the most basic question of human life? That is, who am I? So, all the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the root of all books, they have addressed to this question. But what is your opinion on this complex and what you call it as an open-ended statement? That is, who am I?
Right. It's a very good question, because that is where I started from, because that was my question. Who am I? And the whole journey, then it just started unfolding, step by step. So, first, as I said, I had to know myself, my roots, my parents, their parents, the whole, physical form. And I understood that where I come from, why I like certain things, why I'm different from other community. Even within Gujarati, we are so different from others, and this is the case with everyone in India. Like, as we say, every वो बोलते हैं ना, हर गांव में the boli changes, the language changes, and the food changes, the way we dress, the way we cook the same thing changes. So first I tried to know myself completely that way. Then eventually I started knowing my soul. So why I like certain things, whether but there of course my meditation really helped me, but that meditation was like vipassana, sitting in one place for 5 hours. I went to the ashram, I stayed there for, I spent like good 12 days in one camp, sitting in one place, in one small, very small room, and meditating, a real good meditation. So from there on I got little bit of answers, and then of course throughout my journey, my relationship with Krishna helped me, that because I really wanted to know who am I. So then after reading and after experiencing, I realized that of course we are very small tiny part of that divine force, from where we got separated for whatever reasons, and our journey is to go back to the same almighty. So for you, maybe if Shiva is almighty, fine, but for me is Krishna. So I would say I want to go back to him. If you are a devotee of, say, Hanumanji, or if you are devotee of, say, any Devi Ma, Parvati Ma, or whichever Shakti forms or Sati forms, any Durga forms, that is choosing your deity, the force is your call. But like if I give you my example, then for me it is like going back to Krishna. So that tiny thing, which is in Bhagavad Gita, it is written that when you take the tip of your hair, you cut that into 100, and then take that 100th part, and that you cut into the 100, that is the size of the soul. And it's written in second chapter somewhere, where Krishna explains the importance of the soul. So that is the size of the soul, and that tiny thing is what I am. Rest, everything is perishable. Rest will go. Will get, if our karma is not finished, we'll get into another body. We'll keep transmigrating from one body to another body, from one era to another era. But if our karma and if Krishna helps you, then you get out of this cycle and you go back to him. So that tiny thing is what I am. That is my answer to you.
Wonderful, ma'am. Like we had a very interesting and a different meaning for the question that is, who am I? Really wonderful. And ma'am, what was your experience when you won so many awards and accolades from various national leaders?
Yeah, it's a good feeling because it's more for uh, not satisfaction, but it is good for your overall profile, so that you get some sort of a stamping on your work. Someone has given you appreciation, so you get more confidence. You can talk to people more confidently. As I said, on my personal level, it doesn't make much difference whatever I'm doing, but on my professional level it makes a huge difference, that when someone talks to me, that person knows that, sorry, her theory is acceptable, her theory is being appreciated, her work is getting recognized. So it makes a huge difference. Yes, so I mean, I'm really thankful to all those people who appreciated this work, because the another challenge I have found is that any award functions, they don't want to recognize someone who's doing this kind of research. If you are into fashion, food, styling, makeup, IT, say some other things, you easily can get recognized. But when you are talking about this knowledge, it is like really, I mean, someone has to have guts to give me an award because they don't want to accept it. But thankfully, in last 6 years, it's changed a lot, and I'm sure that it will go into the same direction, because earlier people were not ready to understand the importance of the whole thing of this knowledge, but now it's getting there, so which is good.
Wonderful. As a traveler, share your experience regarding the place that you loved the most and the place that you wanted to visit the most.
When it comes to the cultural aspect, I want people in India to learn from Europe. For example, in Rome, they have preserved their even broken buildings so well. I mean, and they were extremely good in size, no doubt. Like, for example, in Germany, from Munich, I went to a couple of places which was, um, I don't remember the names, but which was about their palaces. So palaces were like only 1,000 years old, not long, not that old, but they were the way they had preserved. So, similarly, we need to understand the importance of preserving our palaces, our monuments, our olden, whichever art forms. Like, for example, I've been to Ajanta Ellora and I've seen Kailash Temple, the big Kailash Temple, which we talk about, which, nobody knows how it was carved out. So I've been to those places, but the way we preserve is really bad. So that one thing which I've picked up from travel is that we must learn from them. I mean, for example, in Korea, I went to Seoul, and in Seoul, they have a place which is about their South Korean culture. So they have preserved the whole village sort of thing. So you go there, you actually get into that era which you have seen in the movies, where you dress like them, or the original Korean dress. You drink what they used to drink, because I'm vegetarian, so I would not eat because they eat lots of meat. So I denied that, but I said, okay, I have any problem having your traditional tea. So the whole thing is kept so well. And if you see in India, I don't see those things happening. For example, in Vraj, in Vraj, in Mathura region, uh, Gokul. Gokul is supposed to be our identity of that era. It was established, or it was kind of re introduced by our Guru Sri Vallabhacharya ji around 500, 550 years, around 500 years back, because Aurangzeb, I think, had attacked that place so much that people had forgotten and had fled away from there. So people had forgotten where the original Gokul was, and somehow he got the dream, and then he re-established that village. So that village, I see that it's preserved little nicely, but still we have a long way to go. So I think this is something which people have to pick up from other countries and see how they have preserved themselves, and that we should follow. And we have to ensure that all our historic sites, they we make them larger than life the way they have done it. I mean, if you see the wonders, I mean, the eight wonders may have been to Petra. Trust me, it was so funny. It's just that one, there is a huge mountain, and in that mountain one temple ka gate jaisa banaya hai, and that is can you imagine, that is the wonder of the world. I mean, I was surprised. There's nothing. I mean, if you see our temples in South, and if you see our palaces in Rajasthan, you will go mad, because nobody can think of such intricate detailing, such kind of carving, the thought, the what do you call it, the order, exact size, exact shape. If they have created like thousands of such pillars, one pillar, if there is a concept of same pillar, you will find it exactly the same. How? जैसे वो machine में बनता है ना, it is that similar. Even machine can falter sometime, but not this kind of thing. So this is something which I want our people to learn from others.
Yeah. And travel also, it gives deep insight into growing ourselves as a person. Yes.
Yes, it does. It does. I can give you one example. When I'd gone to Amarnath Yatra, when I did Amarnath Yatra, I realized that after all, we have come alone and we have to go alone. So in that journey, those 3 days journey just opened my whole, I don't know, all my nervous system, my, it just gave me a different point of view. It just opened all my senses. So I think when you go to take a spiritual journey, and that is what I've explained in my book series also, that why it is important to go to all the religious places within India. So whichever state you belong to, आपके state में जो है, at least उतना तो visit करो. If you are in Gujarat, you should know the places in Gujarat. If you are in Orissa, you should know places in Orissa. So it's very important to travel, I feel. And especially travel within India, it's really helpful.
And we do have a rich heritage that we can explore and know more about our history and our roots. So that's
Right.
true, ma'am. Yeah. So, talking about your books, can you let us know what are the various themes that are portrayed in the series of books, Hindu culture and lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a three levels, or three set, or three. books which talks about main four topics. First is Vedic lifestyle, like for example what we do every day, our mantras, rituals, temple rituals, what we should be doing at home. So all our Vedic lifestyle. That's why I said with living Vedic lifestyle. Second is Inside India, which is of course talking about historical site, the monuments, the the places where you can just go for sightseeing, like Kaziranga National Park is there, or you have Mysore Palace, or you have Uti, or I've taken lesser known. I'm not taken the most prominent places because that people know already. I've taken some lesser known places within India where one should go to understand the culture. For example, if I tell you Kashmir, of course you know Kashmir, but within Kashmir, Dal Lake is very important. There you will find Shankaracharyaji's mutt. Then you have one Shiv temple, which is important. So that way, where history and spirituality, both things are covered, which is that is there in inside India. The third section is Indian scriptures. Of course, there I have given some basic ideas about all the Vedas and Puranas and our history books like Mahabharata and Ramayana, then Darshan Shastra, then Upanishad. So some basic definition. The fourth section is Indian ancient scholars. For example, what do you call it, Nagarjun. Then many we had many, not only the rishis but the scholars, Bhaskaracharya. Then we had many of them. So all those people who have contributed to the science, the science part of India. Like for example, we know metallurgy long back. We knew the combination of various chemicals and what we can make out of it. Okay, we knew how to fly a plane. So we are the whole month, what do you call it, the whole process of making a plane is described in Vedas. So those people who experimented those things are written, are I have mentioned about them in the books. So that way, the all three books have got these four topics in three levels. So first level can be little for somewhere for the beginners who have to understand the festivals and why we do certain things. Second level is little tough, little more detail, and third is of course meant for someone who really want to know about. A little bit more deeply about which mantra comes from where. For example, in agriculture, we have mantras which describes how to protect the crops without using chemicals. So these kind of things people are not talking about it only. I don't know why, but then if you want to protect the crops, you have to add. This is one example. I mean, there are many examples. I've taken only few. For example, you have to put jaggery into milk and make a paste, and then you spray it on the plant, so you will not get the certain doo doo, certain germs. So those kind of examples I have given in biology, what is described in physics, what is described. So the modern subjects, but the references are from the scriptures. So that way the whole thing is described. So there are two major point of view into the books. One is what you should follow, and one is what you should know about yourself. Because I mean, we are not going to perform Vedic yagnas every day like earlier times, where every householder used to do perform yagna every day because that was the part of their life. But now we don't have that life, so fine, but at least know about it. So that is what I have described in the whole three sets of books.
Lovely, ma'am. And definitely, if one reads the book, they are going to get a clear picture of the culture and regarding it. So, so much of travel and writing and discoveries. So, what are your future plans?
I think I mean, I want these books to get into the form of videos. So, I mean, I'm already doing that. Like, I'm reading from my books and explaining on my page of Facebook page, hinduscriptures.com. But then I've decided to convert that into video content. So, I'm currently doing that so that people know exactly what parents should tell their kids. Like at least there are 10 important things. One of the things I told you, you should know your gotra, and if you don't know, then talk to the elders in the family, find out the from the people, at least know, make note of it, and ensure that your kids know about it, where we come from. Because this whole jamela of caste system, which was created by the British so that they can rule us for a longer time, they are the one who abused our whole jati system. There was nothing like upper and lower. It was a division of work. So one person was educated, so he used to impart the knowledge and perform certain temple rituals, which we call it Brahmins. The other one was very physically fit, genetically they were fit, and they had the feeling of protecting the land and the people, so they are called Kshatriyas. Then of course we would always have, even today we have such people. In the Western countries they have people. So it's that there are people who are very good in businesses, so they are Vaishyas. And then there are people who are very good in giving services, which is service sector is very big even today, so it was big even earlier. So then people have given this example that they were oppressed and they were looted. And no, in any yagna, when it used to happen, those people who we call it today as a lower, so-called lower caste, they had the maximum right to ask for any remuneration they want. If there is a woodcutter, if there is any, say, say farmer, if he brings the farm produced, or the woodcutter or the metal guy or any other so-called service, coming from service industry, they would ask for any remuneration and they would get it. So then there used to be, what do you call it, as a colony of goldsmiths, colony of kumbhar vada we call it as, if you have heard this name. So there used to be colonies of all these, people who were artists. So जिसको आज हम lower, so-called lower caste कहते हैं, they were, and they had full freedom. They had full rights to ask the rates. They would not be kind of cheated or compromised, or they would not be, kind of looked down upon. So this is something which we need to eradicate. And I feel for that, it's very important to know the history, where we come from. That will give us the confidence कि नहीं भाई, ये जो भी है वो it's created recently only by the British era के time पे especially, and they had their vested motive to spoil it, and we allowed them to spoil it. So now let's restore it. That's the whole thing I want to say.
And even that's true, ma'am. Like they were recognized for their work, and in earlier times, work was important. Like, it was not like based upon the caste like it is right now, and that's why there were different groups of people. They used to focus on their own work, and they were
Right.
valued for that. Yeah, that's true, ma'am. So wonderful to know that. And what would you like to give out a message to the audience and our viewers today?
Um, the first thing is, as I said, that you be the the beacon of, or you wear the badge of your community, your caste, your religion on your sleeves. Be proud of your roots. Ensure that you follow first whatever you're supposed to follow in your family traditions and whatever around you, about your roots. Follow what customs you used to your grandparents used to follow inside your house. Every community, every caste has a different way of thinking and living. Follow where whatever was followed in your community. Secondly, now it's time that we add those forgotten practices in today's time. As I said, vegetarianism is there. Be minimalistic. Ensure that we damage the environment as less as possible. So no plastic into your house, as less as possible. You don't worry about those manufacturing companies and people are working for them. It gets adjusted. Just because someone is earning out of creating, no, planting those, say, marijuana, it doesn't mean that we give money to those farmers and we say, oh, if we stop using drugs, they will get out of business. Let them be. It's okay. They'll find other businesses. So you don't worry about those things. You have to think about how to save environment, how to be minimalistic, how to spend less on things which are not required, as in terms of plastic, as I told you. Again, I keep thinking about that, and then follow all our traditions. Spend time on that rather than watching TV and spending time in front of that idiot box. Think about, spend time with family, find out about your roots, and give those things to your kids. Like, I ensured that my son knows, but he's too young, but I would ensure that he knows whatever he's supposed to know at this age. So that is what you have to do. And this message I really want to give you. If you want help, you can always refer our books and our websites to know more about it. And if you want to contribute, then please, you are welcome. Um, Please write to us and tell us if you want certain topics to be covered. We are happy to add them. And if you know something about your particular caste community and you want us to add those things in the site, we'll do that. So I guess this is the only thing which I can tell your audience.
And that's the important thing that you really want to tell out to the audience, and an important message that everyone can follow. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful insights into the journey of your life, your writings and spirituality. And it was indeed an enriching experience for all of us. And thank you so much for giving out your time to us today.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
And thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and talking to you and like hearing you was a different spiritual experience altogether. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Should I leave here, right? Leave studio is the thing, right?